Hi, and welcome to Queens Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Sharice Beckett, and this is the place where we empower queens to lead, transform, and shine. And my next guest shines so bright, and I knew it from the first moment that I met her. Each week, we will explore a variety of topics that focus on empowering women, sharing personal journeys, and highlighting behind the scenes experiences in different areas. January, of course, is all about the new year and creating, hopefully accomplishing those goals. And this week is all about bringing the confidence into the new year. And when I started to think about guests, I immediately was like, I have got to reach out to Deb Garcia. Not only because I
Yeah.
miss her face, uh, but you may be one of the most confident, brilliant women I know, and you smash your goals. And I believe that's because you believe in yourself and your ability. Deb is the chief development officer at Doctors Without Borders, and just a true rock star in her own. I'm just rocking it out. We used to be colleagues, and worked very closely together in the trenches. And you have quite an interesting journey and background. So let's put on our crowns and welcome Deb. Hey.
Hey,
First of
lady,
all,
how are
how are
you?
you? How are you? How are you?
So good. Great to see you.
Amazing, amazing.
How are you
So
doing?
I am good. I am good.
Congratulations on all of this. This is incredible.
It's been like a 3-year journey of me trying to like have the guts and get rid of the like fear and doubt. And like fear and doubt are what keep you from like accomplishing all the things you want to accomplish. And so I felt like I was ready. Like I was ready. I was like, I'm ready now. I'm ready to put myself out there. The biggest thing is like, the fear of failure, like fear of to fail. Like you don't want to fail. And like that, but then I was like, when have I ever like I have never been a person that's like that. So I started this and we're here. And so when I was thinking up this episode and segment of January's theme of New Year, same you, new goals, I thought, it would be great to have a guest come on and talk about stepping into that confidence in the new year. And I immediately thought about you, and I will tell you why. We were colleagues and we had many differing perspectives and disagreements just based on the positions we had and our roles. But each time
Problem
there,
child.
yes. So right. But we was in the trenches, so we have an excuse. We have an excuse. But each time, like there was never a tearing down of each other's person. You stood firm in your confidence and intellect, and I did the same. So thinking of that relationship and that confidence you bring to a room, I had to have this discussion with you today because I was like, she is the epitome of the confidence, not insecure about another woman's intellect, not looking over her shoulder, worrying about what the next person is doing. You worried about what you're doing. You're worried about your success. And I mean, I just am so happy that you're here and having this discussion. I thank you more than you know before we even start with the
No.
questions.
Yeah, no, as soon as I heard about this, I was like, yeah, I'm on. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So I have some questions, some, pre-planned. We can get into a regular discussion, but I do want you to share a bit about your personal journey and how you've worked on building your own confidence over the years. I know you're an immigrant, you have an amazing story. So I want people to hear that.
Yeah, it's interesting because ready or not is kind of like my thing.
Yeah.
And and while I think and I do a lot of scenario planning, I rarely ever think of being scared of failure, and I probably embrace failure a lot. Um, my story, so obviously I was born and raised, or not, I guess it's not obvious, but I was raised in Trinidad, educated partially in Canada, started my career as an engineer, designed equipment to manufacture vaccines at the beginning of my career. Then I felt like that was a little bit too, that wasn't sexy enough. And I decided to go back to business school, post B school, did management consulting, traveled a lot for work. I lived in Asia for a little bit, came back to the US. I consulted to the Gates Foundation, which was just revolutionary for me in terms
Yeah.
of really thinking about how you could drive impact globally.
Mm-hmm.
I volunteered for a bit. Then I was like, "How am I a Black woman?" And I've not really ever worked in Africa. I volunteered for a bit with Clinton Health Access Initiative in Nigeria. Returned to the U.S. At the beginning of 2017 and decided to join Planned Parenthood after the Women's March. And it was just, oh my God, Planned Parenthood was like the force of all, it was like the Mecca.
It so was. It so was. There's not an energy like it out there. There's no energy like it.
And so when I was there, I remember being in a strategic planning meeting, and my former boss came into the room, and I was like, and he was responsible for generating all of the revenue to do the work. And I just thought, oh my goodness, that's the role.
That's where the money is
Go
at.
out to go out and talk to people and make sure that people who don't necessarily or aren't necessarily able to do the work themselves are able to really be a part of it and to be a part of the force. And so I moved into fundraising, and that's where, of course, I was working with you. And our time at PP was just an incredible time. And I think of queens. There were so many queens at PP. Oh my goodness. And
So many.
Danny Hill, Alexis McGill Johnson, Kelly, like just people who just really pushed. And actually the men at PP2 really lifted up, were just so like it was just a feminist force, so it was a great place to work. But a lot happened in the years that we were there.
Yes.
And and for me, being like an immigrant, and actually when I wanted to work on something a little bit more global. So being at Doctors Without Borders is really compelling. Like for me, healthcare access, everybody deserves access to healthcare. Everybody
Right.
deserves,
Absolutely.
and so our work, the work I'm doing today is really feels really timely and is incredibly rewarding. So just by virtue of like, how do you feel confident? How do you build confidence? It's like managing your time and feeling like what you're doing matters. And
Yeah.
ultimately, then you know what I mean. You just
Yeah.
feel that sense of like well-being, feeling good.
Yeah, I mean it's true because when you're doing things you want to do and you're with intention, I think that you just come in much more confident because even with starting this for me, I was like I really want like I am really going to be good at this because I want to do it. Like I really want to do this. I want to interview and talk to women, all kinds of women. I want to be my authentic self and I'm able to do that because we have to do so much code switching and corporate, which is something we really didn't have to do when we worked together, was the code switching. We were really kind of protected, but I
Well,
realized we were in a
because
bubble.
when I hear you speak, I'm like, you were code switching because I didn't know that you were code
You're like, what did you say when you was?
because I don't know that and I do think actually one of the things about being like for me being confident and like showing up, because I don't think I actually code switch that much, and I do it specifically because it's kind of like you bring yourself, you bring your best self,
Yeah, yeah,
and whatever the outcome is,
yeah. You
you
bring your back. I mean, that is true.
know
Like,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I don't know that I because recently, I mean, a friend of mine said, "Deb, you never blow out your hair for work, or you never do." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
never like
You're
people.
you.
My accent is like thing, and then it's just like, okay, yeah, but that means I'm going to be remembered in the room.
Exactly. They're gonna remember, and trust me, they will. They will remember.
Oh yes, I'm that Trini girl that was in the room.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you are. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because you really are authentic. I mean, I've seen you in a great mood, I've seen you in a, not so great mood, and you really are your authentic self. And I've got to say this because you do care so much about people, like the people on your team, the people, like you just really do care. Um, and are and you're a person who is going to, you know, put forward for others. Like you're going to up somebody else. You're never going to just like, and that's what confident people do. And like I know a lot of times growing up for me, I know there were times when my confidence definitely I had confidence, but it was definitely tested, I would say. Growing up in, I grew up in West Virginia. I'm from West Virginia. It is not very black at all, but it's not, and so having that background for me was hard because, a lot of the guys did not like black girls to date. I did have boyfriends and things like that, but, you just weren't
Just a couple.
right. Yeah, just a couple. Some boyfriends. But they and I honestly was like, wow, this is when I went to college. I first went to an HBCU, West Virginia State College, and that was the first time on the yard was like I was like, oh my gosh, like there are people who are interested in girls that look like me and that think we're pretty. And I mean, I think that is where I got my biggest kick of confidence. And that's why I do think that going to HBCUs for people is really actually helpful because you do get that. Now sometimes on the flip side, you after you're done, you come out and you're in the real world and you're like, oh my God, like this was not how it was when we was on the yard. And I think that's what happened to us also at like Planned Parenthood. We were in a bubble. We were in a bubble, which is at the time good. It was a good bubble because we were protected from a lot, but we were in our own like kind of ecosystem or echo chamber. We were,
Definitely.
yeah. And then when you get out, you're kind of like, and that is another, like, you got to kind of pivot your confidence. I mean, especially like applying for jobs and going, doing something different, which is hard. I mean, I know in my 40s, it's been hard to make any type of transitions. So, like, as you move into a new year, I know, especially because you have lofty goals as a chief development officer, as you move into a new year, what role does setting like clear intentions play in boosting self confidence for you?
Ooh, so it's funny, like you think back of your confidence and your time on the yacht and so forth. So I grew up, um, one in the Caribbean where there were so many examples
Yeah.
of, you know what I mean? I grew up where people like me were in the majority,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But I grew up, I think my first time being educated in a co-ed setting was in college. And I was an engineer, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it
Oh,
was
yeah. Guys.
predominantly
Yeah.
male, mostly white men, and I worked in that setting for most of my career. Which so then that also gives it a completely different
Yeah.
flavor. And I actually think like a lot of white men and just men in general have really helped me in my career. I think from a planning and how do I plan for confidence stepping into 2025? I mean, the best person to bet on is always yourself.
That's right. It's true. It is so true
You don't
though,
know
right?
what other people are going to do in different scenarios, but you know what you can pull out of your toolkit. You know what you need to achieve. So, being kind of like, I don't know that I've never been one to like actually have a vision board and lay out a strategic plan for my own personal life. Um, Melvin Galloway used to do something like that.
I do that. I do that.
You okay?
I do that. Like I literally do that, and I'm going to be offering some tools for vision. It works because it really does. Manifesting really does work.
Yes, yeah. So he did that, and he's someone whose career is just like, hello, amazing.
Amazing.
And so, it definitely works. I do know like the one time I went to a vision board party and I put up a few things and I actually put a picture of the building that today I live in. And it is kind of crazy.
See?
It's just like one of those like, you go to one of those parties and you have it and you just bam, put it down, and it's like I didn't think anything of it, and then recently it was like, oh yeah, actually, and that's
So
chat.
you did manifest.
So
You did. You did
yeah, yeah,
manifest
yeah.
that.
So I did, when I guess some things are like a little bit not like fully conscious, right?
Right, because I mean, we're people obviously, but some of those things are, it's like you said, not fully conscious. You just know you're gonna do it, and you kind of set yourself in motion to do what you intend to do, right? And it is sometimes becomes just subconscious, you're doing it. Now, we all face those moments of self-doubt, and I told you, like, doubt and fear, like, those are like, sometimes they're over your shoulder. There's doubt, there's fear, like, and we all face them. What strategies do you overcome? Like, what strategies do you use to overcome moments and push through uncertainty? Because we've all dealt with it. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, being it's interesting. So I'm the third of three girls in my family, and I'm much younger than my sisters. And so when they listen to this, they'd be like, "Excuse me,"
Ma'am?
but
Yeah.
it's interesting because I was always like the underdog in everything, and like kind of being like competing against myself for my own personal best, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
it's so I think calibrating expectations of your goals is really important, and like right sizing your goals to your resources, or your skill set is really important in terms of reducing fear. Right? Because you don't have if you kind of could eat an elephant lots of different ways, and you just put it's like one bite at a time.
Yep. Yeah.
And then so that way it kind of reduces the fear of it, makes things a lot more realistic. Like my plans are,
Yeah.
tighter when it comes to like myself.
Yeah, yeah. I want to pull on a thread that you said earlier, because I think it all the time. You're like, bet on yourself, and that is so important. I think about that a lot. I mean, you hear a lot of people say it. It's true though, like, because if you don't bet on you, no one else. Because
Hello.
betting on yourself is believing,
And do you
right?
know I got that mantra, to be fair, from a sisterhood similar to ours? I was
Really,
working with, yeah, so I'm gonna say like a queen to another queen of
queen.
PwC, and I was going through a really rough time at work. Got this opportunity to go volunteer, and I had only been to South Africa on like a safari. I'd never really spent any time on the continent. I said, I don't know if I should do this. I'm not going to really be making money. Like, this is the thing. And she was like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know what I'm coming back to. She said, bet on yourself. Like, and I was like, yeah, why? Yeah, like I will bet on myself. And she was
Hmm.
like, and so it is really, really important to be in community with each other, and to kind of push each other along.
Yes, 100%. When I think about, even just like the betting on yourself, and even with like starting this, and being like, okay, like, if I don't, how am I ever going to have sponsored ads if I don't believe I can do this? How am I going to actually monetize that if I don't believe in myself? The other thing that I notice is that when you really don't you have that doubt, it is really hard. People can see that, like, people can see through that. When you're trying to sell yourself and you still doubt yourself, it comes through. And I think that belief in yourself is that confidence. And I do say, you do bet on yourself. Like, I know it, I've seen it in action. I've seen it in action. And you do, and
Yeah,
you're
did she really do that?
or saying that, like, I would be like, oh, okay. But like, just like you said, like, you need it to be on your terms, and you're not scared to say those things. You're confident and steadfast in what you believe in, and yourself, and you are like, no, 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 this is what I want. This is what, and that really was for me when I met you. I was like, I'm gonna like this girl. I was like, I'm gonna like her. I was like, I'm gonna like her because I knew I could learn something from you. I mean, we all should be lifelong learners, and I like knew I could learn something from you. And obviously, that confidence shined through enough for me to have you here today. And I think that definitely. When I started working with you, we both were happy of the situation. We were both like, okay, this is good because we vibe, like it's great. But I was really learning because not as familiar with you had worked in different parts of the company before. I had not. I had only worked in my division. Like I only worked in ops, I only worked in HR. So I didn't have like kind of the relationships. And so working with you, I got that confidence to be able to say those things and be able to stand up for myself. You and Danny. I mean, I remember one time I asked her something. It's the funniest thing. I was like, well, I'm going to ask him, somebody we're working with, if I can talk to one of their direct reports. She was like, you can talk to whoever you want. Oh, okay. Don't tell me that twice because I definitely will be talking to whomever I want. And ever since then, honestly, like I was asked something one day and I was like, or I was told something one day about doing something. I was like, no. I'm 45 years old. I will talk to whomever I want.
Well,
Period.
you know what's funny? Because I got through the door at Planned Parenthood, um, really on a cold outreach.
Oh wow.
You
Talk
didn't
about
know that?
manifesting.
No, I had watched Cecile Richards speak at I watched on TV and I looked online and just I reached out to Melvin, introduced myself, and boom.
Oh my gosh. Like,
So,
but that's
like
believing in
but
yourself.
for me it was kind of like I was just like, okay, yeah, I want to help out. I want to be there. I want to be part of this at the time. And so, if why not introduce people be going into other people's DMs where they don't even have a big ROI.
They
Why?
sure
You know what I mean? Like if something good could come of this, like why not? What is there to
why
lose?
not? I love that because you are 100% right. People are dropping in people's DMs and there is actually no ROI. So why so why not? Yeah, but that is like confidence though, because you had the confidence to do that. Like, whereas even today, I was gonna reach out to I have a particular and I'm going to reach out once I get these aired and edited and everything. But there's a book that I have been reading called Manifest, and it is by Roxy Nafusi. I am telling you, I think everybody who wants to manifest the life that they're design the life that they want, I think that you should read it. I listened to it on Audible, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to um Roxy. I'm just gonna an email
You're
to
promoting my book right
right.
now.
I am. Right. So I'm like, and I swore up and down I wasn't gonna drop any brands either. I was like, no, because they're gonna pay me. Um, but I did. But Roxy's book spoke to me. I mean, I would listen to it. Generally, I'm listening to like Glorilla when I'm working out. I mean, so because Glorilla does have the jams, but I listened to Roxy the last couple like days to finish the book because it's like 7 steps to manifesting something or other. 7 steps, the 7 steps that I am like, okay, I'm gonna take these 7 steps and see where it takes me. But I the same thing you did with Melvin, I drew back on myself and I was like, okay, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this before I have content? Do I want her to at least see my content? You know what I mean? First. And so I decided I'm going to wait till I have content on my website and on YouTube and Spotify. And then I will reach out about just like, I just want to meet you and talk to you and um get in that mindset because honestly that is where my head is. And so when you say that just gave me some confidence to be like, you know what, you're right, because there is ROI in that meeting with this person. So I love that. Thank you.
So many people like wait on like, perfection. Like I always think like this idea of like putting so much time to be so prepared. And, you miss a lot of opportunities trying to be perfect when you can just like be a little bit scrappy and get it done. you
Right.
know?
Yep. Well, yeah, and it's funny. I used to manage someone who always would like work on aesthetics for projects, but then the project would be having the wrong data and like some, and I'm like, okay, well, it looks nice, but it's not right. So you're right. Like people reach for this like perfection, and it is like who is it to call it perfect? Anyway, like it's the ball's in your court. It's your decision. Like whether or not you decide to do whatever it is, it's your decision. So, all right. Well, I have another question about mind shifting and shifting your mindset when it comes to building lasting confidence. And how do you do that? You have lasting confidence, Deb. I mean, come on. So you got to give us the secret sauce because there's clearly something. You messaged Melvin and got a job, so you need to tell people what to do.
Shift.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, like, look, change is going to be the only constant, right?
always.
Who you are. I mean, God, if I could tell my 20-year-old self the things that I know today, you know what I mean? It's kind of funny, like just being aware that change is constant. Not even today, I'm sitting with you and you just keep saying, "Oh my God, you're confident." I'm like the biggest I've ever been, you know. And I said to an old personal trainer of mine, "Oh my God, like he said, don't forget to love the body that you have today." You know, like while you have it, because you're gonna be smaller one day. Like it's just funny, like
Yeah.
it's where you're like, okay, yeah, like I think, and also some of it is like spiritual,
Yeah.
right? And knowing like there's so much bigger stuff that matters, and having confidence that things are going to work out probably also has a lot to do with faith.
Yeah, faith, trusting in the universe, like all of that. I think absolutely like understanding because that is like I always believe things will work out. Like I'm always like it'll work out the way it's supposed to because it really just will, right? Like it'll work out the way it's. Now, this is not to say you don't have to put effort in the things that you want, right? Like I think people confuse that with like, well, I can just sit here and like a genie's going to pop up and that's not
Yeah,
how it works.
I think trusting the process, because actually, like, while you can look at someone and think that there's success, like it's never like a straight line. It's like a you know and that's the reality of it. I think, because I have older sisters, I've seen their lives, and I've seen their journeys, and they're actually also quite
Mhm.
successful. And I look at them and I think, okay, yeah, things are going to work out, things are going to be fine. And the downfall is only means that the next you could go up from there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Having
Yeah.
having that positive attitude too,
Yeah.
um, enables you to become confident.
Yeah, one of the things I know, like when you were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm like Deb could never." First of all, she's gorge, but like my daughter told me something a long time ago, and it stuck with me because I honestly think if I was at her age, she's so much like of a strong woman and so
You have a part
powerful.
in building that.
Yes, I do, and I'm so thankful. But she told me, she said, because we look a lot alike. And she was like, you need to talk nicer to yourself. She was like, do you know how it feels to hear you talk about yourself? And you're like, and you look just like me. And I was like, I was like, you know what? I do need to like think about that. So I like talking nice to you is like so important for building confidence and to keeping confidence and like knowing that you are who you are and you're stepping in, you're stepping in with your faith, your confidence, and you're just speaking nicely to yourself. So and like turning those like negative things into something positive because sometimes yeah, I think right now I'm at a weight that I like am generally happy about. But to get here, I had been like talking about myself. Like I've been like, oh my God, I have got to do something about myself. I've got to do something. I just keep on eating. And so like, and listen, the eating hasn't really stopped much because during the holidays, I've been terrible. I've been like cookied out. Um, but generally like what I had to do was like, okay, I'm going to sit down if I want to be successful at being in shape, being like the way that I want to look because I want to design my life, and part of designing my life is designing the way that I am going to show up physically, mentally, and all of that. And if I am going to um if I'm going to do that, I have to have a plan. I've got to have a plan. So I had to sit down and put together a plan. I also got a trainer. Girl, had to get me a trainer. I had and like paid a lot of money for it. But shout out to Natalia Mello. She is like the bomb. But her training program, me and a girlfriend did it together. And so we did it together, and we had some similar macros and things like that. And so we started making like recipes, and it started to get fun. So I started to enjoy it. And so once you start to enjoy it, you start to get good at it. And that's how I kind of went about that. And it made me more confident. This has made me more confident. I won't lie. I mean, you have to look at yourself every day in the mirror. And physically, I was like, I don't know, I mean, obviously I'm a mom of 3. So and I have 2 bonus babies, 2 bonus children. And I'm a mom I've had 3 babies. And so like, for me, I was like, I guess I'm just gonna have a mom bod. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna, but that wasn't talking positively to myself.
Yeah.
So I had to like course correct, to build that confidence. So
What are you saying to yourself right now, Queen?
I'm trying. I'm trying. Like, what I say, you said, what are you wearing? I was like, oh, a Dolce & Gabbana shirt. It's like, you said, oh, okay. I was like, all right. So tell me something about celebrating small wins, because we talk about these big things all the time, like these lofty goals that we have, and like there's small things that happen every day that we should be thankful about. We have these really small wins. And so how important is it to celebrate those small victories? Like you said, piece by piece. How do you celebrate each piece, and how can that practice contribute to larger confidence building, in your opinion?
God, so small wins is so important for like setting keeping the momentum, right? And
Yes.
when you're trying to achieve your goals and being confident. And it's true when you're doing a big transformative change management, like for an organization, but it's also true for yourself, right? In 2024, I did 3 foot surgeries.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting, like to actually, you know, be off your feet for like 2 weeks and then get back onto it and be and thing. And I remember like in terms of small wins, just um getting back to walking. You know what I
That's
mean?
something that
And
you probably
and
took for granted.
and doing physical therapy and like actually like doing like those incremental things. And it's very interesting to the small wins will like when I see very like as an adult learning being able to walk again and being able to walk, you know what I mean? It's all of
That
these things that
yes.
like but it doesn't just like an important part is pacing yourself literally and you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
I
that
do.
you actually build the confidence that's a little bit sustainable as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing is like confidence, building confidence in leadership. We're both in leadership roles, and executives, and I love to see it. I do. I'm like, as soon as you came on here, I said, look at my girl. We are doing it, aren't we? Um, and we are. So building confidence in leadership and like how that looks, because showing up as a leader confidently is so important. And so for those leadership positions, how does building personal confidence translate into being a more effective leader for you? I can tell you about myself, but you go first.
Confidence for a more effective leader. I mean, look, it's interesting because there's so much documentation, so much research that shows how um, that shows systemic biases that are working against us, right? And I think being kind to myself on the reality of that the odds are against us and calibrating my expectations because that actually helps me and I get serious now.
No, it's
So
serious because that is
what it
true.
is and calibrating my expectations when I when I'm navigating a space. Like so much of why I immediately took this call because there was always like a level of psychological safety when engaging with you, right?
Right.
Where you know that someone else in there's going to be so few of us in these rooms, in these spaces. So like, and we're all navigating different things that we may or may not share with each other. And so it's being kind to ourselves, being kind to and uplifting people who are like us to
Yes.
actually continue to shatter you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh,
And creating
yes.
space for others like us. Like to me, it was just like really important when I left. Like I love, um, the idea of like a day when we're not it's not a big deal that oh yeah, I walk in the
We're
room.
in leadership.
People,
Yeah. Right. You're the
you
first
know, like
black Yes.
when people like meet me and they're like, "Oh, okay, you are." It's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And to be honest, I grew in Trinidad. I grew up in an environment where it would not be a surprise, right? It would that was
Right.
the norm, you know. Um, and so and knowing when environments are when the problem is you and when the problem is the environment,
Right. Oh,
because that
totally.
makes you feel very confident. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, you are not who you say you are, but I am who I say I am. And just knowing that you know what I mean?
Yeah,
In
oh, no, totally.
having
Well,
that environment.
yes, totally. I was thinking about, Barack Obama, I think just recently maybe said it, and Michelle Obama said it before, is that you get in these rooms, right? Like we get in these rooms of people, and I think that happened for me as an adult too. So like you get in these rooms of people that you think are like higher and better and smarter, and then you get in the room and you're like, oh, you're not really that smart. Or I mean, I've been like, oh, in many different circumstances, right? Like I'm like, oh wow, you're not. And I'm telling you, it happened to me. I think when I was in my 30s, I was like, I remember some kind of girl like drama, like something crazy, and I was like, I just expected more out of adults. Like I
Why?
did not think when we got grown we were still going to be doing this. Like, wow, And so I am always baffled, and I think that is that those words, even coming from like Michelle and Barack, those words have, like, when she said it, it really hit home with me, and then when he said it, kind of sealed the deal, because I was like, that is just an experience, especially Black women have, is that we there are so few of us in roles like we have, and when you do get into those rooms, you're expecting, I think for me, I'm expecting obviously for there to be some more robust conversation and intellect, because I'm like, why are there so few of us in the room? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm expecting there to be something else in the room that, but it's not. So that's, for me, I'm like, okay, I'm confident now. One of the things I used to say, and when I was at work, I was an HR business partner like a long time ago. And I was like, I would start a sentence and be like, I'm not dumb. And I was like, why am I saying that? And it was just my own negative self talk of like being like, are you dumb? You know what I mean? In your head. And then when I started getting into these rooms, I most certainly know for a fact I ain't dumb. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you that right now. I mean, but I was so like taken aback that like, oh wow, I am bringing something to this table. I am bringing some intellect to this table. And for me, working, I have to have some type of intellectual stimulation. Like, I cannot work in an environment that does not stimulate me intellectually, whether that's like being an entrepreneur and trying all the projects that I'm doing right now, or like working for somebody else. I need to be stimulated. And that plays a part in my confidence, is having that intellectual stimulation. Because I'm learning, right? You're learning information that you're able to then learn and either put it where you need to put it, act on what you need to act on. So for me, that's kind of how I roll with it. Now we're getting to the end here. I hate that. So okay, so I want to talk to you about advice for the new year, because one of the things I don't like, I do not like the new year, new you. I just have never been a fan of that, because it's like, no, you are you. You are who you are. So you can't run from that. So you can't run from who you are, but you can be the new year, same you with a new outlook, right? And so like finally, as we approach the new year, what is one piece of advice that you would give someone looking to build more confidence and step into their full potential? What would you say to them?
Double down on your strengths, right? Because I think it's hard when you're like in a constant mood of like trying to fix this, fix that, fix the other, and repair. It's actually makes you more unique, makes you more successful. Most
Yeah.
people are successful because they've identified their strengths and
Yeah.
capitalized on it or like leaned into it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think just like, and that goes for like work stuff. It also even goes for physical stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
you could know that, okay, your hair is always going to be on point. Oh, you're going to always, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
you're
yeah, I'm
always
gonna
going to
always
be
look sickening when I
in
walk in
your
a
color.
room.
Like, yeah, like, and,
Right.
and so whatever it is, I think lean into your strengths. Like I love to tell a story on a PowerPoint. And it's like a thing. If I have my deck there, I know I'm ready.
You're ready.
Like it's
Yeah,
just like
that's your thing.
that's the thing. Like you just have to know yourself, and leading to your strengths.
You're amazing. Well, I do want to thank Deb. She's such an inspiration, the success story of an immigrant and a woman that's confident shines through and true. Like
Well, thank
it's
you. I
very
appreciate
evident.
that. Right
And
back at you.
oh my gosh. And in working with you was always a joy. In addition to the podcast, please go over to our website at www.queensbehindthescenes.com and download our free goal tracking workbook. It's an e-workbook. It includes vision board templates and smart goal tracking. We want to just provide resources to help you boss up like a queen. I also want to introduce Queens Behind the Scenes personal success and coaching services. If you're ready to take your goals to the next level, let's work together. We offer Crown Your Success, a personalized success coaching program to help you achieve success, just like we discussed on this podcast. Thank you again, Deb, and tune in next week where we have another amazing guest discussing starting something new in the new year. Makisa George from Meditors will join to discuss stepping into something new. We will talk about how fear and doubt can block your manifestation. Thank you all for joining. And thank you again, Deb. I appreciate
Yeah,
you as a
thank you for
colleague,
having
as a
me.
friend, and as a queen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Fix
I'm going
that,
to
brown woman.